14. The author of the Mishnah is Rabbi Elazar Hamodai from Modi'in. So he was living in Israel in Modi'in. And maybe just a quick introduction. This Mishnah, most of it is actually also recorded in the Gemara, in Sanhedrin. And the Gemara there tells us about a verse in the Torah that in Parsha Shalach, the Torah says, Ki devar Hashem baza, talking about somebody, and that person who despised the word of Hashem, it says, Ve'es mitzvaso haifar, and this person violated God's commandments. So it says, he kares, that person shall surely be cut off in a double language, and it's referring to the person's punishment. So the Gemara there says that the idea of a person who is Devar Hashem Baza, who's disgracing God's name, that's like a heretic, and a person who, it could also be referring to somebody who basically just despises the word of Hashem by acting insolently with regard to the Torah, and he basically shames it, etc. Rabbi Elazar Hamodai, the Gemara then says, learns from this verse the following. All of the things that are going to be mentioned here. Hamachalel es hakadashim, someone who profanes holy items. Technically, holy items would be more to things that were used in the Beis HaMikdash, such as, for example, from a korban, from an offering. The offerings were holy, so any part of it, the meat from it, etc., that would be eaten, that's all holy, and there's certain laws about how to do it, but could also be things that were supposed to be given to the Kohanim. V'hamavaze es hamoados, someone who shames, disgraces the festivals. V'hamal bin pnei chavero barabim, one who embarrasses his fellow in public. V'hamefer briso shel Avram Avinu alav shalom, and somebody who annuls and basically says, I don't care about the covenant of Abraham. V'hamagal lefonim b'Torah shelo k'halacha, somebody who interprets Torah inappropriately, improperly. All of these people, afal pi sheyesh be'oda Torah masim tovim, even though they may have knowledge of Torah and they may have done a lot of nice, good things in mitzvos, ein lo chelek olam haba, this person does not get a portion in the world to come. That's his statement. We're not going to cover all of this today. We're just going to cover the first parts. So the first part of Mechalel es hakadashim. So it says kodshim generally refers to not just general holy items, but it could. But according to most understandings, this statement is specifically referring to karbanot, offerings. And there are different ways that one can profane an offering in the sense that, remember, that an offering is holy, and therefore there are certain laws about how you can conduct yourself with, let's say, in the case of the meat of the offering, it can only be eaten in some of it only in Jerusalem, but might even be, depending on the level, only within the area of Beis HaMikdash. Some of it is eaten by the Kohanim. Some of it might be eaten by the person who brought the korban, but there are a lot of different laws. And your person has to be in a state of purity when they eat the things. So if a person became tamei, they came in contact with a dead body or some other way of becoming tamei, they would not be permitted to eat the kadashim. And certainly the kadashim itself has to be protected, in a sense, from coming into contact with any tuma. So if a person is then going to profane it by either being careless or purposely allowing it to become tamei, that's kind of like a desecration of the holiness. So the different few commentaries in terms of what exactly the issue here is. So one of the ways of making an offering no good is an interesting name. It's called pigul. Pigul is an unusual word, but it essentially means that when the person was bringing the offering, they were thinking about doing it in a way that was improper, or eating it at the wrong time, different laws that they might have been thinking that I'm not going to do it the way it's supposed to, I'm going to do it differently. If you had that in mind when you brought the offering, it's no good. Also, as the Bartanur points out, it could be if the offerings all had a certain amount of time period in which you were supposed to consume it. If you just let it go beyond that time, so were not allowed to consume it anymore. You actually had to burn it. But let's say you did it on purpose. So again, you're transgressing. So all of these different ideas are situations where a person is not being careful with something that's holy, and he's treating it in a mundane manner. So it shows you don't really care about things that are holy. Um, it could also not only, it could, if you want to extend it, you can then extend it to any holy item, not just the offerings, but to be the Torah. It could be a person who is holy, someone who doesn't show proper respect, as Rashi points out, for a Torah scholar, or even extends it to someone who doesn't show respect for their own potential. Like we are holy people. We are all holy people. And we have the potential to even be even more holy. If you don't respect your ability for your spirituality to grow, that's also a profaning in the sense of yourself. The second statement was one who shames or disgraces the festivals. So the festivals that we're talking about, essentially, when we talk about festivals, obviously it's not Shabbat, it's Yom Tov, but most commentaries understand this not to be referring to Yom Tov itself, but to be referring to Chol HaMoed. So we know on Sukkot and Pesach, right, there are intermediate days, which do not have the same status as the regular holidays. So we'll take Sukkot is coming up, right? So here outside in Canada, we have 2 days of Yom Tov, followed by 5 days of Chol HaMoed, and then 2 more days of Yom Tov for Shmini Atzeret Simchas Torah. The 5 days in between are still Sukkot. We still have many laws of the festival in terms of eating in the Sukkot, taking the lulav and esrog, etc. But we have a tendency to think that other than that, it's a weekday. And the truth is, that is not correct. It's a holiday. And in fact, there's differences of opinion as to the extent of what you are not permitted to do. But essentially, we are supposed to treat it it's similar to Yom Tov in terms of sanctity and in terms of importance and in terms of how we dress and how we eat, etc. And so if we're going to just treat it as any other day, that is considered disgracing it. We're like, this data is not important. And that's, again, showing that you don't care about the holidays that Hashem has made holy. It's according to others, they do say that it is referring to Yom Tov itself. And in fact, the Meiri points out that generally most Yom Tovim, all the Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkos in particular, they all have a relationship commemorating the Exodus, right? That Pesach, obviously, is directly. Shavuos is the giving of the Torah, which is connected to that. And Sukkos also sitting in the Sukkah because when we came out of Egypt and we were in the desert. So all of them are directly connected to the fact that Hashem took us out of Egypt. And therefore, he says that's a core tenet of faith. Those, right, that God took us out of Egypt is one of our basic beliefs. And someone who is not giving proper respect to the Yom Tovim is really not giving full credence to the faith that Hashem did for us, that he took us out of Egypt. And therefore, those are viewed in a more serious manner as someone who is, like, in a sense, looking down upon what God has given us and the belief. Also, in terms of back to Chol HaMoed for a moment, so there is really a misunderstanding in the sense that the work that is permitted is really only work that is essential. So if it's not essential work, then we don't really need to do it, especially when it comes to, work, but even regular malacha. So it's malacha that you need to take care of to make the festival important. So whatever we do, obviously we're all driving around and most people who are celebrating, and if they don't have to go to work, they're doing some festive activity in order to give specialness to the day. That is all showing that even though it doesn't have the same level of sanctity as the Yom Tov day itself, it still is a very special day in holiness, and therefore we are going to act accordingly. And that's what the Mishnah is telling you, is that for Chol HaMoed also, sometimes we have a tendency to think, this one's less important, and then you kind of just let it slide. And that's really the areas where we show our faith and our belief, in the sense that we are not going to treat this lightly because it's on a lower level, so to speak, than something else. We are going to give it its full importance that it deserves, and that is showing our faith in Hashem. And the one who doesn't do that, he's kind of saying, I don't, this is not important. I don't care about it. And that's what is considered hamavaze esamo. Someone's disgracing the holidays through that kind of behavior. Okay, we will hold it here. Have a great day, everyone. We haven't finished the Mishnah.